Episode 3359, How do you handle jealousy in your marriage?
Moms, it's time to rediscover, rejuvenate, and renew who you are in mind, body, and spirit. Welcome to Create Your Now, Your Best Selfie, the show to help you do just that. Here's your host, certified life coach, personal trainer, and nutritionist, Christiane Wargo.
Happy day. I hope you're having a fabulous weekend, maybe taking in some basketball, just saying. Oh yes, I'm looking forward to the Final Four for sure. It's always exciting. Now, I'm not a big basketball fan, but you know what? We need to learn how to pass the ball to our spouse. How do you handle jealousy in your marriage? For those of you who are brand new to Create Your Now, welcome to this incredible family. I'm so delighted of your presence. If you already even had the opportunity, you'll want to head on over to createyournow.com, where you can learn more and sign up for the Kisses newsletter, the Keep It Simple strategy, everyday solutions to live, love, and impact. Well, this episode is brought to you by AIM, Inspiring Connection and Community. Well, take a deep breath because maybe you're on a whirlwind right now and life is just happening and coming at you in all different directions. I'm currently traveling. I love it. I get to see my family. I'm hanging out with my hubby. I mean, it is just a blast. But with all of that, of course, there's some chaos too, right? But today I want to calm it down for you just a little bit. And I want to talk about something that's very important. And I want to preface what we're going to be talking about today because jealousy is one of those things when you hear that word, you begin to kind of freak out. And normally the reaction goes to, well, a man is jealous of another man or a woman is jealous of another woman. And this is not what I'm referring to. Now, can it be partly that? Of course, yes. But we're not talking about an affair. We're not talking about that type of emotional or physical attraction outside. Yes, it can involve that, but that's not the only thing because jealousy shows up in different ways. And so I really want you to look at this with an open mind. Don't just tune out saying, oh, gosh, we've been married for 30 years. We've got a great marriage. It's no big deal. Hang on. Maybe you've only been married for a year or two. Okay, I want you to listen to the full entirety because your eyes might just be opened a little bit more. Because when we look at navigating jealousy in your marriage, when your spouse feels neglected and seeks more attention, it can be a delicate balancing act. It's tough. So how do you handle jealousy in your marriage? Now, jealousy is a common experience in relationships. And as a couple, you can conquer this challenge through empathy, effective communication, and a willingness to understand each other's needs. Now, does it happen easily? No, it doesn't. It takes a lot of work. But jealousy shows up in different manners. And we're going to get to that here in a minute, but I want to touch base here. Leslie Vernick says this. Now, she's a renowned marriage counselor. She's incredible. She says this: jealousy in a marriage stems from insecurities and unmet needs. It's crucial to communicate openly and empathetically to build trust and mutual understanding. So I want to ask you this question, and we're going to dive in here. Have you ever experienced jealousy in your marriage? Now, I'm sure when you were dating, you did, because I'm sure there was another woman who looked at your man and said, and it maybe didn't even say anything, but just that look, and you're like, oh, I don't think so. Oh yeah, I can name two. When I was dating my husband. Oh, yes. And to this day, okay, I really don't worry about it, but to this day, I do tease him about it. But it's one of those things where, it's a real thing, and jealousy rears itself. It rears its head in unexpected ways, such as feeling envious of the attention your spouse gives to others, even to your children. So you might be saying, well, how do I know what really jealousy is? If your spouse is one who wants to control you in manners like, I don't want you going out with your friends. You're spending way too much time with your friends. Why are you petting the dog all the time? Like, why are you hanging out with the kids? Why do you want to go talk to your mom all the time on the phone? Why are you texting our son who's in college? Why are you, if there's always these questions around you spending time with someone else, that's a really big red flag. Your spouse is most likely experiencing forms of jealousy. And it's because their needs are not being met. and their insecurities. Now, if you're the woman listening right now, you're like, oh yeah, I know. My husband is jealous of the kids. Now, you will not find a husband that will say, I'm jealous of the kids. You will not. They're not going to come up and tell you. Quite frankly, they don't even know actually the words most likely to form that sentence because they're not thinking along those lines. They're just like, well, why isn't she paying attention to me? That's where it comes from. Now, you may have the same thing, right? What about someone's career, your spouse's career? Could you be jealous of that? 1,000%. Jealousy shows up in all different areas of your marriage. And a lot of it, of course, does come from the insecurities or unmet needs. Okay? Women, your man wants to be number one in your life. I'm here to tell you that no spouse, man or woman, can give you 100% of what you need. You're not going to get that. You just are not. And that is an expectation that you need to have removed before you even get married. But unfortunately, we get married with the intention thinking that, he's so wonderful. He's going to meet all my needs. He's going to take care of me. There's not going to be ever a time that I'm going to be alone. And then he goes into career building and you don't see him for 20 years. Now, you may be making a couple $1,000,000 a year. That's fabulous. But you're sitting home alone. You're jealous of his career, which leads to so many other things in a marriage. I mean, it is a snowball effect. Jealousy can kill a marriage. It truly can. But if you're one who's saying, but Christiane, there's hope, right? You know there is, or we wouldn't be talking about it. There's always hope. There's always hope. But you have to be willing to get to the bottom of jealousy. And when you do that, you've got to ask curious questions. That is your Kiss to Keep It Simple strategy. Ask curious questions. When you want to be curious, then it's going to take courage to say something, right? Curiosity supposedly killed the cat. I really don't like that phrase, but we'll kind of go with it. But in this sense, it didn't kill the cat. It actually will save the marriage. When you look at curiosity, you've got to have some courage in order to do it. And so I started thinking, all right, there's got to be a link here between the two words curious and courage. Say that fast 3 times. That's kind of hard. It really gets you tongue-tied. And there is. Both words stem from the Latin word cor, C-O-R, which means heart. Think of it at the core of it, okay? So let's look at curious. Curious originally meant eager to know. And it can take courage to delve into the unknown or to seek answers to questions. Similarly, courage refers to the ability to face difficulties and challenges with bravery, which often requires a curious and open mindset to explore new possibilities and overcome fears. So in essence, right, curiosity can fuel the courage needed to step into the unknown and grow personally and professionally. So if you're one who says, Christiane, I want to work on this jealousy thing. I don't know what to do. I think my husband's jealous of me for whatever reason. I don't get it. Maybe it's because of the children. Maybe it's because I spend too much time doing my hobby. Whatever it is, I got to get a handle on this. Well, if you want to, let's look at some strategies here. 3 strategies that we're going to talk about. And this is not going to be an immediate change, right? You just don't flip the light switch and everything's better. This is going to take weeks into months and possibly even years. It depends on how long this has been going on. And I will say this up front. Don't ever be afraid to ask for help. You need to know that. Man or woman, does not matter. Do not be afraid to ask for help. But in saying that, make sure you get qualified help. There's a lot of people who pretend that they know what to do with marriages. Well, why don't you investigate their own marriage before you hire them? I mean, seriously, have they been able to overcome things? Have they been trained? Do they know how to get to the other side? That is very important. And I will also say this, marriage is very, very sacred. And there are some things that need to be talked about. So whoever you speak to, they have got to be able to listen with an ear without judgment. They can't pick sides. For example, if you're going to be talking to family members, that's fine. There's no problem with that. However, listen to the however, if those family members are in it because they want to only protect you and they cannot see the whole picture, then do not speak to them. And I mean that deliberately. It is so important because they are only going to see one side. And so it does take a very, very special person to hear that. A lot of times that comes with training. And a lot of times you can't talk to family. So be very careful and cautious when you move forward with who you're going to speak to. All right, so with that being said, let's move forward with how do you handle jealousy effectively. All right, number one, communication. Communicate openly and honestly. I cannot stress this enough. Communication is the root at all levels of anything that's happening, anything, negative or positive. A lot of times when we communicate in our world, we don't even know what we're saying because we don't look at the words. And then when they're received, we don't know how they're going to be received, right? Because that is subjective. It's not objective. Hence why I broke down curious and courage, right? It's important for us to understand if we're not on the same page, you're going to sit here and get mad at me because I'm saying something. But really, if I was to explain myself, you might be like, okay, I can see that. I may not agree with it, which is fine. Remember, this is not about you getting on Christiane's side. This is about you bettering your marriage and giving you options that are out there that you don't normally think about, because I'm the crazy one that's sitting around thinking about this stuff because yes, I have been through it. I have had the tornado. I have had my husband come to me and say, I've fallen out of love. I have had the husband walk out the door. But I also did the work and so did he. And we reconciled and now we're better than ever. Now, I don't like all that we went through, but let me tell you, we got to the other side and I don't know, which we can't ever tell because you can't go backwards in time, nor do I want to. I don't know that we ever would have gotten to where we are now had we not gone through what we did. God saw us through. But I can tell you right now, the people who knew what was happening, not all the details, just the generality of, oh, something's happening. They're arguing or they're separated or they're going through their stuff. Yep, don't think it's going to make it. No one had hope. No one. Except me. I knew. So I'm here to tell you that if you're sitting in that seat right now thinking, gosh, everybody says I'm doomed. No, you're not. You are not. I do believe in miracles, even in your marriage. But it's going to take work. So understand when we're talking about this, it's not a quick fix. So going back to communication is the root. It's the foundation. You can connect everything to communication. And when you look at this, right, you can start asking those curious questions and put things in perspective. You can express your feelings of jealousy to your partner. Right? If you're like, gosh, hun, I don't know what it is, but you're spending so much time at the office. Is there a way that we can work your schedule where you're home at a reasonable time on at least a couple nights a week? That is a lot better than just being mad and saying, why aren't you home? You're just such a jerk. You don't even think about anybody but yourself. And little do you know, it's like, well, I'm working for you. I'm trying to get that $2 million every year. See what I mean? You can also talk about your insecurities and fears. Now, not all of this stuff comes at one time. This is little bite-sized pieces you've got to figure out. And that's where having someone to help you and walk through this, to be coached. I mean, I cannot wait. Come into AIM. When AIM opens up, I encourage you. Incredible things, okay? You're going to get resources in there. Yes, with not just your marriage, but definitely with your marriage, because the family foundation is so important. And we've got to get back to that. So when you communicate openly and honestly, you can talk about your insecurities if it's the right time. Don't wait till they're, just about ready to go to bed. Oh, hon, can we talk? You've had a long day. Your spouse has had a long day. Probably not a good day. It's been a long day. You got to look at timing. You've got to find that non-confrontational manner to approach your spouse. And you want to have that supportive environment. So probably don't talk about it when you're dealing with the dinner dishes and dogs. Not a good idea. But if you want to get to the other side, if you want to know and you want your spouse to know how you're feeling regarding the jealousy part or how they're speaking to you, it may be something where your spouse is just like, I would love for us to go out and do things more often, but you just haven't lost that baby weight like 15 years ago since our last baby. And little hints and drops like that, those are daggers to the heart, right? That's not right. And then pretty soon you're going to be like, gosh, she thinks nothing of me. And then he's doing other things. And now you find yourself being jealous of what? Him watching a TV show. Why? Because he's not paying attention to you. And the words he does use with you are cutthroat. So yes, you've got to communicate openly, but in the right manner. And it's not always easy, but you can do it. I believe in you. Number 2, establish boundaries and reassurance. You've got to set clear boundaries in your marriage. And when you do, it can help alleviate jealousy triggers. Reassure your spouse of your commitment and love regularly. Now, this is assuming that your spouse is looking at you and he's jealous of whatever's happening because of your actions or your words, right? So you have to reassure your spouse and say, babe, I'm committed to you. But right now, our 2-month-old kind of needs mama. Our 2-year-old kind of needs mama. Our 20-year-old, okay, we have an issue. See what I mean? See where I'm going with all of that? All right. And when you do reinforce that, you're reassuring your spouse that you are someone I love, but we're in the season of this. And sometimes you just have to explain things. You just do. However, I will say this. When your spouse comes at you, and it's more so because they are jealous, right? It's showing up, whether it's the kids, the dogs, maybe it's even just texting your mom. Like I talk to my mom every single day. My husband has no problem with that. Now, my mom and I won't talk as long on the phone if my husband's home because she knows I'm going to go spend time with him. But that doesn't mean that we can't talk. You see what I mean? But that's her respecting our time together as husband and wife, which is important. What is that called? A boundary. And that also reassures my husband that, oh, wait, she does love me. And she's not going to sit there and talk for 2 hours. Now, if I need to talk to my mom for 2 hours, of course my husband is going to allow me to do that. But there are some times that you're more married to your mama than you are your husband. Think about that one. Regardless of how you establish the boundaries, you've got to come at it with an empathetic ear. And so when you're communicating, when you're reassuring, it's got to be from the position of, this is what I hear you saying. This is how you're saying it. So you're rewording it so they can hear it back. And sometimes, in all honesty, sometimes they really don't mean what they said. It's just coming across wrong. Maybe you're too exhausted. Maybe you have different definitions. Okay? So be compassionate and kind when it comes to your spouse's feelings and where they see it. Don't sit there and just be a cutthroat and rude. That is not going to get you anywhere. In fact, it's only going to get you probably in the, oh, maybe I have a reason to be jealous compartment. Okay? And then finally, number 3, self-reflect to check where you are. If jealousy in your marriage becomes overwhelming or leads to constant conflicts, right? You've got the arguments, the heated discussions. Sometimes, we don't even want to go down that road. Don't hesitate to seek support. That's why I mentioned it from the very beginning. Contact a counselor, a therapist, a qualified coach. Professional guidance can offer truly valuable insights and tools that will help navigate you through challenging emotions. You're going to be on a roller coaster sometimes. You're going to be tired. You're going to be trying to figure everything out. You can also get support through groups. Come into AIM. Journaling. I already mentioned a coach, right? And this will give you the opportunity to self-reflect, putting yourself and saying, maybe I am doing something that is spurring on this jealousy. Not that you are meaning to, but maybe you didn't think of it in that manner. That helps you really begin to digest and reflect as to what's really happening, what's being seen. And then when you do that, then when you go to ask those curious questions and you want to establish boundaries and reassurance, and you want the communication to be clear, you are going to have a level field in your own mind so you can go out and walk in the landmines of what's happening at and around you in your own home. Make sense? So it's really important that you figure out what's happening within yourself, maybe your own actions, the words you use. Maybe you are staying out too late with your friends and you're leaving your spouse at home too often. Maybe that's really not a good situation for you. You need to look at that. Jealousy can make one feel like an object rather than a cherished partner. Addressing it promptly and constructively is essential, my friend, to nurture a healthy, loving relationship. I know you don't want to feel like an object, and neither does your spouse. So it doesn't matter what side of the coin you're on. Maybe you're jealous of your spouse. Maybe you both have jealousy, and that's usually the issue. There's jealousy on both sides. Figure it out so it doesn't decay your marriage. Remember, a sprinkle of jealousy is normal in relationships, but when left unchecked, it's going to turn toxic. It just is. So foster that open communication, right? Set those boundaries. Seek assistance when you need it. And then you'll be able to strengthen your bond with your spouse, and you can conquer jealousy together because you're always better together. Go in peace, be present, be incredible, be you. I love you so very much. I cannot wait to see you on the other side. Blessings, hugs, and lots of love. Oh, hey, if you haven't seen the movie, go out. Someone Like You. Karen Kingsbury Productions. You will love it. It's a romantic classic in the making. We'll talk to you real soon. Bye-bye.
Feeling inspired, ready to train for life and love your journey? Visit createyournow.com for more incredible resources to help you along the way. We'll see you next time on Create Your Now, Your Best Selfie. And remember, always be sure you consult your physician before beginning any health and fitness plan.